Look, you've heard of Freudian psychoanalysis, right?
Yes.
A
working theory is the whole basis of science. It's the most truth you can accomplish. It's the most but it's still open to contrary evidence.
Okay, so let me just explain a little concept to you. Have you heard of the penis envy theory?
No.
Okay. Sigmund Freud, he had a theory that women are jealous because they don't have a penis, right?
Okay,
the penis envy theory, right? Now, what Freud actually did is anytime he met a woman who had problems with her husband, she's having a lot of arguments with her husband, he explained the reason why you really have an argument with your husband is because you are jealous that you don't have a penis.
Yes.
Okay? Now, anytime he met a woman that said, I am obsessed with my husband, I worship my husband, I love my husband, he said, you only love him because you wanted to have his penis, right?
Yeah,
she has a penis. If you
no, this is the penis envy theory.
Right.
Now, Karl Popper, a philosopher of science, what he actually did is he looked at this Freudian theory, the penis envy theory in psychology, and he looked at Einstein's general relativity, and he said, this is pseudoscience, and this is science. And why? Because the penis envy theory, no data can contradict it. But the general relativity, if, you know, in the experiment when they're waiting for an eclipse, if that experiment went wrong, Einstein's theory would be falsified. This same guy, Karl Popper, who is an atheist, he said Darwinian evolution is a pseudoscience because it's not falsifiable.
Okay.
So for example, I'll tell you something. You spoke about empathy, right?
Yeah.
How would empathy make sense within a Darwinian worldview if we're all out there to survive and reproduce?
We have to look at either human behavioral ecology or evolutionary psychology.
No, why are we good to each other?
To help propagate our genes.
Exactly. So we're good to each other to help propagate our genes. Yeah. This is a classical Darwinian worldview. Like JBS Haldane said, I will give up my life for 2 brothers and 8 cousins, something like this. We're all there to propagate our genes. Now, is it not true that human beings help people that they're not related to?
Yes.
How does that make sense within a Darwinian worldview?
Well, in a number of ways. There's network theory.
Kin selection.
Direct reciprocity. Well, kin selection is the biological...
Reciprocal altruism.
Yes, reciprocal altruism.
Right.
Circular altruism.
What you just did right now
Yeah.
is I made a little nice hole and you just walked into it.
Yeah, okay. Go on then.
Because I asked you, what would a Darwinian explanation be of empathy, right? Because Darwinism is about survival and reproduction.
Right.
Now there's a contradiction which I pointed out to you, which you explained in terms of Darwinism. So what you actually did is exactly what Freudian psychoanalysis actually do, which is take a contradictory piece of data and re-explain it using their own theory.
Okay.
So what would non-selfish behavior look like?
Non-selfish behavior.
Non-Darwinian behavior, what would it look like?
Something that's out of the psychopathy.
It exists.
I know it exists, but you could call
So
it...
I said, what does non-Darwinian behavior look like?
Well, yeah, it's a maladaptive, which is still...
There you go. That's still a Darwinian behavior.
Yeah.
What does non-Darwinian behavior look like? That's not selfless behavior look like?
I couldn't say.
Conceptually, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Why? Because Darwinian evolution and Darwinian academics have managed to explain everything, selfish behavior, sympathetic behavior, in terms of Darwinian evolution. So what they've done, actually, according to atheist philosophers of science, like David Stove, in his book Darwinian Fairy Tales, is explain a contradiction as a confirmation, and they can explain results which exist and which don't exist. So there's no way, conceptually, you can show that they're wrong.
Right.
So they're true by definition. Darwinian evolution is just true by definition, therefore is pseudoscience.
I don't think so.
Well, you just did it.
Why?
I just laid out a little nice hole,
Yeah.
and I asked you to walk and you walked into it. Which is, I gave you an empathetic piece of data,
Right,
and you explained it using Darwinism. Although empathetic behavior is an anomaly to Darwinian evolution.
But it's not like one rule which dictates everything. It's a model where all pieces are working together.
No, but you just applied that one rule, which is natural selection, working on your mutations, random mutations.
It's a working theory. That's what it is.
It's an all-encompassing theory.
Yes.
Because I can say, and did you know that within the, if you actually go back in the fossil record, there is a species X. I just brought out this box, species X. How did it come around?
I don't know.
Okay, that's good, because you don't believe in Darwinian evolution anymore.
Wait, are you talking about the first organism or something?
No,
what's your species X?
I'm just bringing you a box.
Right.
I'm telling you, where did this come from? I'm asking you, where did it come from?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, then Darwinian evolution's false.
Well, because I don't understand your analogy.
No, because 99.999% of species are actually missing. We don't have their DNA. We don't have their bones. We don't have any pictures of them, cave pictures of them. 99.999% of species are missing according to the National Science Foundation. So if what you just said is correct, that I bought you a piece of data and you said, I don't know, therefore Darwinian evolution cannot explain 99.999% of the data.
Why? Because it's not there.
Yeah.
Of course it can't explain data that isn't there.
Yeah. So you said you believe in Darwinian evolution.
Yes.
Right? And now I just showed you why the whole of it is actually based upon data which is 0.0001%.
Right, so you're working off the premise.
How can you believe in something which is based upon 0.0001% of the data?
That's how you look at it. You could say that it's based on all of the data. Weren't we arguing that point just a moment ago? That it encompassed all of the data?
No, we were arguing that from a Darwinian point of view, what Darwinists have actually done is they've managed to frame the theory in a way that they can explain anything which exists or doesn't exist, even, like I pointed out, homosexuality and heterosexuality, even though both of them are polar opposites.
Right.
And a theory that has been framed in such a way that they can come up with hypothetical scenarios for anything and ad hoc rationalizations, that theory, it should be questioned about whether it is even science. Because look, I'll say that, look, you've seen documentaries about how we supposedly evolved, right? What they say about our evolution is that we grew big brains because we started to eat protein and we started to harness fire, correct? How on earth will you falsify a hypothesis like that?
You pose another one. No one's that theory is one theory.
So pose another hypothesis. How will you test that?
You could find the food that was available in that time.
That time. Okay. When was that time that human beings and chimpanzees split up? When was that?
About 6 million years ago.
Sorry?
6 million years ago.
6 to 7 million years ago. Where did that?
6 million.
6 million. Okay. Where did you get that figure from?
I was taught it.
You were taught it. Okay. Do you know one of the figures is 20 million, one of the figures is 6 million?
Well, either one of them is wrong, lying, or from a different time.
Okay. What's the 20 based on? What's the 6 based on?
Well, I'd have to see it. I mean, I'd have to peer review it. I don't know.
Okay. Both of these are different interpretations of the same data.
Okay.
The way that science works, it's like a scatter graph, right? You've got a graph here. You've got a bunch of dots. You can make a straight line, a bell curve, a sine curve, a tan curve, an exponential curve. The same pieces of data can give rise to different alternatives. That's the way that science works.
Well, they can be interpreted differently, yeah.
Of course it can, because that's the way that science actually works. The problem with Darwinian evolution, the way it's actually taught, is it's taught like a religion. It's taught like it's something true. And that is the thing which I'm actually challenging, because we live in a secular society and we need secular ideals to make sense of reality. So like I'm a Muslim, we have the story, the creation story, that the universe was created by God. Likewise, the atheists need a creation Genesis story, and Darwinian evolution is their Genesis story. So if you came to a Muslim country and I taught you the Quranic origin of the universe, you would want to challenge that. If that's true, then you being in this secular society, you should also challenge the material genesis story of atheism.
I think it is challenged.
Well, if it is challenged, then give me any evidence in any school in this country or university where you can openly teach alternatives to Darwinian evolution and where you can openly criticize Darwinian evolution. Find me, like any child here before the age of 16, get me a GCSE book which gives me that, and if you give me that, I'm going to say I'm wrong and I'm going to walk away.
Why is that important?
That is important because that is exactly what we're talking about, indoctrination.
Right.
Where people are taught an atheist material genesis story without being explained, firstly, what it exactly is, and two, the alternatives to it.
Well, evolution exists in a science classroom. It's the same kind of
Not
science.
evolution, we're talking about Darwinian evolution. There's a difference between the two.
Fine, but it's taught in a science classroom. It's the same kind of science. It works off of the same philosophy. It's taught right next to physics and chemistry. So it's to omit it from the...
I don't want to omit it. I want people to teach it.
All right, but
all I want
it's
is
taught
I want
in a
it
science
to be
classroom.
taught.
So to teach something that isn't science in a science classroom...
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying not teach science.
You wanted me to find a classroom where it teaches an alternative to Darwinian evolution?
Yeah.
Right, but that wouldn't be science then.
Do you know what you just did there? You just showed it is pseudoscience. Because you said anything that's not Darwinian evolution is not science.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Because science, it's...
Because I'll tell you something. I'm going to name you 5 atheist evolutionary biologists who are atheists. They don't believe in God and they're evolutionary biologists. And every single one of them has come up with a different alternative to Darwinian evolution. This is not God. This is not religion. Okay, we have... evolution by natural genetic engineering by James Shapiro, who is an atheist. We have evolution by mutationism by Masatoshi Nai, another atheist. We have evolution by Neo-Lamarckian evolution, another secular theory. Evolution, symbiotic evolution by the acquirance of genomes. That's Lynn Margulis, another atheist evolutionary biologist. Stuart Kaufman, evolution by self-organization. 5 evolutionary alternatives by atheist evolutionary biologists. You'll never find them in textbooks.
Okay, fine. They'll be welcome in a science classroom as long as they're based off of the scientific method. But if you present an origin story that's not based on the scientific method, then it's not going to be welcome in a science classroom.
I agree with you totally. But these 5, these are not based upon religion.
They're welcome.
But you just said anything that's non-Darwinian is not science.
Well, that's because I'm talking to a Muslim and I thought I was arguing that point.
No, but what you need to understand is this. When it comes to your worldview, look, me and you are going to die one day.
Pardon?
Me and you are going to die one day.
Oh,
right? Either God exists or...
I need to go and eat. So
that's absolutely fine. And that's survival of the fittest.
Yeah. Right, let's speak to you.
Okay, it was very good to speak.
Listen, it's very nice talking. Do you accept the things that we've been saying to you? Yeah?
Yes?
Do you understand how flawed the scientific method is in Darwinian evolution?
Absolutely not.
Yeah? Do you accept that?
No, not at all.
You don't accept that?
No.
إذا أعجبك الفيديو لا تنسى الإعجاب والتعليق، ولكي يصلك كل جديد اشترك الآن.